All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, once again here to a Virtual Racing Network. We have a great race in store for you. This is the third race in a week here. We have been at Watkins Glen. First, we were with Northwest Xfinity, then the trucks, and here we are with the Racecore, the K&N cars. Here, once again, I expect to see a fantastic race in store for everyone. We got 23 drivers that have made the trip to the track. We'll see if a few more come in here momentarily. What we do have for you tonight is 45 laps here. We will go caution free as there are no full course cautions. They are all local cautions. Again, 110.25 miles. Roughly 111. We'll stick with 110. It is closer to the 110 lap mark, so we'll stay with there. But again, we want to get into all of the sponsors that have made this race possible here on the racing side of things. Of course, the general sponsor, or one of the general sponsors here for tonight's race, is Global Building Contractors. Of course, as well, Leo's Coney Island out of Rochester Hills. And coming on board recently, that is Dan Butler Designs. Big shout out to them for coming on board. And of course, Iracing Drivers World, the presenting sponsor here for tonight's race. This is the Racecore Iracing Drivers World Racing Series. So big shout out to them for coming on board. Of course, here on the broadcast side of things, we have several sponsors as well, starting with Walls Beard Co. A Beard Balm. If you're looking to get some beard balm products, there is no better place to go than wallsbeardco.com. Get some of their all-natural and organic products. We'll see, or you can see just how good that stuff is. Also, they have different scents to pick from as well, so make sure you check them out. SimSpeedShop.com, your one-stop shop for custom-made button boxes and e-brakes. Again, make sure you check them out for those e-brakes and button boxes, a must for all iRacers. Northwest Racing Series, the official one-to-go sponsor here for tonight's race. If you are in the Northwest Club, you can join them racing on Monday night and Wednesday night. We also broadcast them here at 10:30 p.m. Central Time, of course, on the Virtual Racing Network. Ohio IndyCar League. If you're looking to get into some IndyCar racing, there is no better place to go than Ohio IndyCar League. Check them out at facebook.com / Ohio IndyCar League for all the latest information. iBog, iRacing Broadcast Overlay Graphics, your sim race broadcast graphics source. If you're looking to get into broadcasting or just need some overlays, check out ibog.co to get started. And, of course, your post-race show tonight will be presented by Randy's Wraps. If you need a paint job, there's no better place to go than Randy's Wraps. So make sure you head on over to Facebook, look them up, Randy's Wraps, and contact them today. That being said, hopefully we got his mic sorted out here. We do have Chris White in the booth here from the Northwest Racing Series. So hopefully we have it sorted out. So, Chris, you got a copy?
Yeah, Charles, I'm here. Not sure if you can hear me.
Well, we got you real faint, but we got you in there. Hopefully we'll be able to hear you. We are going to be working on that throughout the night here, but we have about a minute to go, so we're going to keep working on that. We're actually going to get over to the national anthem real quick, so we will be right back with qualifying, so don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
We take you down onto the track for our opening ceremonies.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. Please remove your hats.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs burst bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We are underway for qualifying as we're going to switch over to Tony Rice. We're going to get down to our main camera and pull up the driver bar here, as the times have not come in just yet, so we're going to give them just a minute, actually about a minute 13 to get around this track before times officially get underway. It's, again, just hang tight with us, and we will be logging laps here in just about probably 45 seconds. All right, times will be coming in here momentarily. Again, what we have to look for here tonight, sorry, we're getting some last-minute stuff sorted out. We see Huffy is there, Covington, and Kamikaze with us as well. Again, it takes them a long time to get around this track because, of course, it is a road course. So it takes quite some time to get around it. They'll be running about a minute 14, minute 13. We may see a minute 12 before this is all said and done. But right now, the first time coming in is going to belong to the 8 of Mikey Neal with a minute 12, 3:64. Right behind him is Alex Huffman. Well, now it's going to be Jason Covington with a minute 12, 9:41. Alex Huffman with a minute 13. So we are going to see some minute 12s, but I think majority will be minute 13, minute 14 to get around this track. Is these are just a little bit slower than the Cup cars, the Xfinity cars, or the trucks, but not much slower. Oh, as the 83 of Alex Huffman gets into the guardrail there, we're going to switch back to Charles Huffman in that 63 Mellow Yellow machine. We'll see what kind of time he does. It's a minute 14:072. So again, I think that's going to be the majority. Low, really high minute 14s, low minute 13s. So anywhere from minute 13 8s, 7s to minute 14 O's, 1s, 2s, somewhere in that range should be where we expect to see most of the times coming in. Tony Rice still out on the track. He has completed his first lap, minute 16, 6:29. He is on his second lap right now. They have a minute 14 left. So there are going to be a ton of drivers that have not put times in. Dan Butler put in a time for 9th place with a minute 16:060. But still, Jeremy Evans now putting in a minute 13:677 as he's going to bring it to a stop. So there are a ton of drivers that are not putting in times. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Jameer Muhammad will be starting at the back due to an EOL here. But we have 50 seconds left on the clock. Mike Taylor sitting out on the track right now. Roger Muth also out on the track. Bill Edwards in his car, but not out on the track just yet. So he will probably not get a time in. We'll see if Roger Muth or Mike Taylor put in a lap. As you're watching the 56 right now, you know when they get to the last corner, there are a tire barrier there, so you know when it's coming up. So we'll see. Will he make it? 20 seconds left to go. I'm thinking he may make it. It's going to be close. Right there is the next to last turn. And he's coming into the last turn here with 9 seconds left to go. This is going to be very close. And I don't think he's going to make it here. 3 seconds left to go. And he squeaks it in at the line. And minute 14:4:78 is going to be his time as he barely squeezed it in. We do have a rolling start here for tonight's race. So we have plenty of time to go through your grid here. So we're going to let them get on the grid. And when they start rolling, we'll go through your official Walls Beard Co. starting grid. Alright, we are back, ladies and gentlemen, and I think just about everybody is on the grid. So we're going to go ahead and get through your Walls Beard Co. starting grid as they are sitting right there on the grid. So we're going to pull it up now. Row 1 here is going to be the 8 of Mikey Neal with a minute 12:3:23 on his outside. It's going to be Jason Covington in the number 10 machine with a minute 12:7:43 if I can get it out here. On row 2 is going to be the 83 of Alex Huffman and the 38 of Cody Levitt. That is not the first time we have seen them on the same row together, 83 and 38. They do that quite often. Row 3 is going to be the 4 of Jeremy Evans and the 9 of Brian Dorsey. Row 4 is going to be the 91 of Jim Locking and the 63 of Charles Hoffman. Row 5 is going to be the 56 of Mike Taylor and the 64 of Tony Rice. Row 6 is going to be the 99 of Justin Starr and the 96 of Craig Covington. Row 7 is going to be the 21 of Dan Butler and the 40 of Sal Casey. Row 8 is going to be the 70 of Sam Crow and the 39 of Roger Muth. Row 9 is going to be the 30 of Mike Rigney and the 2 of Jameer Muhammad. I believe he is taking an EOL from last week's race. I cannot confirm that, but I do believe that is the case. Row 10 is going to be the 28 of Brian Bizzle and the 1 of Chris Brown. Row 11 is going to be the 45 of Brian Jones and the 75 of Bill Edwards. Row 12 is going to be the 31 of Scotty Zerk and the 14 of Tyler Rowland. And I believe that will do it here. There is no row 13. 24 drivers here for tonight's race. Should be a good race indeed as you see them coming through the little bend there. Everyone getting ready to get started. We are just about ready to go. Who will come out victorious here tonight? Again, it is going to be a very interesting race, to say the least. These cars, we have not seen them race on here before. This is the very first time we have ever broadcast these cars on this track. These are the old NASCARs. So we are definitely going to be interesting to see how the start will go, how it will all play out. First off, of course, before we go, we want to thank everybody for tuning in here. We just saw Mike Neal becoming a member of the channel. Definitely big shout out to Mike Neal. He's been here quite a bit and now a member of the channel. Thanks for that. And Mikey Neal, his son, gets a huge jump shot out of a cannon here, as he will definitely get exactly what he needs, and that's a good start to get away from the crowd here as it gets underway. And it looks like we do have Jeff Stabnow in the booth with us now.
Yeah, I figured I'd pinch hit. Sounded like you were having a little bit of technical difficulty, and these Racecore guys are always just fun as heck to call. And just got done running Watkins Glen myself, so seemed like a fun thing to do tonight.
Yeah, definitely. We are working, getting some new commentators here. Unfortunately, we were going to have Chris White in here, but got a new, some new stuff for his headset there, and it's being a little wonky, not wanting to work with him, making him really quiet. So Jeff was nice enough to come in here at last minute, but we just picked up Mike Neal in chat. He just became a member of the channel. Meanwhile, his son is dominating right now. Early in this race, you really can't use the word dominate, I guess, but he dominated the start, definitely. He got a huge jump, and in qualifying, as you obviously just getting here, he was about almost 4 tenths faster than Jason Covington in second place.
Yeah, this is probably one of those tracks, though, where qualifying doesn't mean as much. There's a lot of different ways that you can run laps. You can hit a hot lap, but one mistake on this track can cost you probably as much as 2 seconds. So while you can run that fast lap 3 or 4 tenths faster, really what it comes down to is how consistently can you clock those laps, or more importantly, at what speed. Everybody's got that comfort zone speed where I can kind of hit that rhythm, fall in line, and this is where I can run laps and not be on the edge of out of control or worried about wrecking or sliding or whatever. And how fast is that speed for you? And right now, Mikey jumping out there by 1.5 seconds. Looks like that speed's matching his qualifying, or maybe even a little bit better here. Lap 2 and 1.5 seconds lead.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I want to point out here too is we are on lap 2 right now. We'll see here. How many times do put in? Obviously, we have their last lap time, but we're looking to see that best lap time. It's 1:12:09:94 for Mikey Neal. There will be a lot of lap times in here that are invalidated, as we have a car going around. That is the 38 of Cody Levitt, because you can very easily go off course here, and your lap is invalidated.
Well, it's not even just off course. I mean, it's just so easy to. There's so many places here where you just got to really be careful rolling into that throttle, or if you're in traffic trying to make a pass or set somebody up. As we see somebody else go around there in one of those turns where that happens all too often. There, turn number 8 to the 38 there. I'm a little bit behind here. The Cody Levitt, I think, is who you were talking about there on that one. That's the one that got me the other night too. So easy to just step on that gas there and try to get a good run off that corner, and then whoop, you go right around.
Yeah, you very well can. And already in this race, Mike Rigney, the 30, again, we didn't go back and see what happened because obviously there are no cautions here. Something happened to him. 37 seconds on pit road. He is now out of the race early. Only 2 laps in is when he actually went into pit road. Chris Brown, Sal Casey did not start. Brian Jones has been on pit road for about 45 seconds, so he came down. Something happened to him as well. So these cars are already a handful to handle, much less on a road course. So this could be a very interesting race. I know Mikey Neal spent a lot of time here in practice seeing just how hard you can push this car before it will spin out. And this track is also one of those that you can push it a little bit harder than you think you can.
Well, we know Mikey Neal has put a lot of laps on this track. We saw in the Xfinity race how hard he worked. And he led a lot of laps, but one little mistake, and again, no cautions to catch you up, one little mistake there, ended up costing him there at the Xfinity race. So it's no surprise that Mikey Neal put his head down and started working on the little things here this week. How hard can you push it before you spin out, things like that, because that's exactly what gets you here when you start racing these Cup cars, trucks, Xfinity cars, nationwide cars at this track. They're not really designed to go around a road course, and they just got so much power relative to the amount of grip that you have, and they are fun to drive, but man, they're a handful.
They are indeed. And to answer the questions, there are absolutely no cautions here. to say that, no full course cautions. There are local cautions, so while we won't see the yellow come out here for the broadcast because it's not a full course caution, if someone spins, these drivers will be notified by their spotter that there is a local caution, but no full course caution. So if you go down a lap, it very well could end your day.
Well, and, unless you get a little bit of pit strategy. So, said I just ran this. This is exactly what happened to me the other night. I spun out, I think, on lap 6. But because of the pit strategy in the fields, it was just enough to get me in a pit window. Was actually able to come back for a 5th place finish. So, I'm not sure. I'm just playing catch up here. But I would imagine, being 5 laps in now, that, if something was to happen to one of these guys, it may slide that pit window up to a spot where, at the end of the day, they can pit now, fix whatever they need to fix, and not lose as much time because they can skip the next pit.
And we did hear earlier, as Mikey Neal was letting us know, as Roger Muth goes off track, comes in, almost gets into the 14 of Tyler Rowland. But we were hearing 14 to 15 laps on fuel. As we already know from the Northwest races, tires, that's kind of up in the air. You could take 4, you could take 2. Later in the race, we even saw people not taking any tires at all. So it really is a mix of what you want to do there for tires. But about 15 laps worth of fuel here.
Yeah, tires will really come into play, especially if you're trying to drive this thing real hard. It's real easy to want to put a lot of wheel in this to get around some of these corners, slide those front tires. And, it really likes to burn up those front tires, and you will lose speed on lap times. Now, conversely, if you're a guy up there that's taking care of those front tires, you'll actually pick up some speed as the fuel burns off. However, I would imagine, as most of these guys aren't typically road racers, we're going to fall into that former category. We're going to want tires. We've got an issue here where there's no caution to catch you back up. I mean, you've got to drive every second, every mess up, everything back. And when you spend an extra 10 seconds taking tires, that's a lot to give up knowing you got to drive back on those tires. So, sometimes it's a good strategy not to take tires. For others, they've ate so much of their tires up, they've got no choice but to take tires because they're losing more time on the track. So, depending on how they drove that car, everybody's strategy should differ.
Yeah, and right now you're watching Mikey Neal. He has a 3.7, almost 3.9 second lead over Jason Covington right now. Again, they run a fixed setup, so that really shows you just how much time he's put in here practicing in this. Not saying the others haven't, but he definitely has found the line to get around this track. As that's a lot of fixed setups, is finding the perfect line to get around the track and knowing when to brake and when to be on the gas and how long you can stay on that gas before you have to brake, because you really have nothing you can do to this car. So he has definitely found something that now has him 3.833, now 3.849 seconds ahead.
Well, I think a large part of what he found was a clean track. It really gets in your head when you're back there in traffic. I mean, you've got, what do we got, 8 corners here. That's 8 hard braking zones. Some of them real hard braking zones, and then getting back on the gas. And so when you're trying to figure out how to get around somebody, or you're running real close to somebody, or you're right behind somebody, you're afraid they're going to brake earlier than you, and you're going to run them over. And if you're not, you will. So, you're braking earlier than you normally would. Basically, when you're in traffic, you can't drive nearly as fast as you can just out there doing laps by yourself. So what Mikey's got going on now is just what he practiced, out there running lap after lap by himself. So it's hugely to his advantage right now. Now, if something happens at the tail end of the pack and we get some cars slows down, he gets down into traffic, that could be another story.
Yeah, no. While you were saying that, we went back to the 70 of Sam Crow, who spun it around in one of the corners. So he has damage to that car. Again, I don't think it's too terribly much. The front looks okay, just a little bit of damage to the back. Looks like the back left quarter panel. So he should be good to go here for the rest of the race. As I don't think the back That black, well, it is black, but back spoiler is 2 damage, mainly just the back fender. But yet another car going around here once again. Jameer Muhammad working his way up, as we'll pull that up real fast. He started in 18th. He's up to 9th, so he has gained 9 spots here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, and maybe I don't remember right, I'm thinking Jameer Muhammad won this race in the Xfinity Series. Charles, do you recall that?
I believe that is correct. He did win. So having to start from the back here with the EOL from last week is definitely not what he wanted. I know a lot of these drivers that we've talked to consider this race a win if they just made it out of turn 1 on the start of the race. So a lot of these guys are just hoping to make it and survive this race today.
Well, you know, that might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but it's not too much. I think, yeah, like I said, I've run this race in 2 of these different cup car type combinations here in the last week, and I can tell you, just surviving the race, you know, not amounting a whole bunch of off tracks or getting your car all tore up, definitely a lot of drivers consider that a win.
Yeah, it definitely is a win. Is Jameer working his way up a little bit. Mikey Neal still leading this race. So far, everyone's really spread out, but having a fairly clean race here. Justin Starr back in 14th. He's got a nice little group there. Bill Edwards, Justin Starr, and Tony Rice. In the corners, they get a little bunched up, but then once they get on these straightaways, you can really see where they get their speed and who knows how to get into the gas the fastest and makes the most of that speed they can get. As it looks like Justin Starr is running down the 75 of Bill Edwards, who is just a little bit ahead of him, and he has quite a bit of damage to the back of that car too.
Yeah, and I'm just catching up on chat here. There's a question wanting to know if cars get damaged if they get hit with no caution, and the answer to that is absolutely. As a matter of fact, in some of our testing here last week, we sustained damage to the Xfinity cars by just running over some of the curbs. Some of the bigger curbs damaged Xfinity cars. They required repairs in the pit, or they were telling you they could do some repairs in the pit. So you can absolutely just running off the track, anything like that, scrape a wall, no cautions, you're still going to get damage to that car.
Yeah, you definitely are. So you want to keep it as clean as you can. But sometimes, even on a huge road course like this, keeping your car clean is not as easy as it sounds. Especially when you're going over those little rumble strips. Depending on how you hit them, they can be very detrimental to your car, as they can spin it around. We saw that in practice. And some of these corners, like the one coming up right now, you saw there's not a lot between that guardrail and the rumble strip. So if you get on it and it upsets the car, the next closest thing to you is that guardrail, and it can definitely damage your car.
Yeah, you know, like we said, the rumble strips can even damage it. So, you know, these cars are easily damaged. Luckily for us, we're not that worried about aero here. There's a lot more going on with mechanical grip, which, of course, is just making contact with the tires and the pavement. You know, that accelerator and that brake is where a lot of that is. But there are a couple long straights here, so if you do get too much aerodynamic damage, it can put you off speed a little bit, but certainly not like some of our other races where, you know, it'll just put you out of the race.
Yeah, and speaking of out of this race, Charles Hoffman now on pit road. He's been there for about 40 seconds. So he is now out of this race at the moment. I wouldn't call him out. He's off the racing surface. He is on pit road, currently 1 lap down. And we looked at him there. We'll look at him again. He does have quite a bit of damage, so he definitely got into something to get that damage. So while he is on pit road, just to give you one more update on Mikey Neal versus Jason Covington, 5.6, almost 5.7 seconds ahead of second place right now. So Mikey Neal is just padding that gap more and more. And the more he does that, the easier it's going to be for him on pit road when he has to come down and pit stop here in about 3 laps.
Yeah, I think the next challenge for Mikey, obviously, besides the pit stops, is just going to be some of this lap traffic. Some of these guys that spun, lost 20 or 30 seconds, or maybe have some problems getting to pit road. But right now, he's just out there just turning practice laps. And If you're a Mikey Neal or a Mikey Neal fan, that's exactly what you want to see. And if you're a fan or a driver, one of the other 23 drivers in this field, that's not what you want to see.
It is not. As somebody went a little bit, had to lock the tires up. Not sure who that was. We were watching them. And another thing, we didn't see this the last 2 times we've been here, Monday and Wednesday of this week. We did not see this, but we may see it here tonight. I think it's very unlikely because we're about to come into pit stops. But what we may see possibly is right now you have Scotty Zerk in the 31 and Craig Covington in the 69 sitting here. Those two are basically together on the track. They are a minute 6 behind the leader. About a minute 6, almost a minute 7. It takes a minute 12 to get around here, a minute 14 right now with these older tires. Depending on how it all works out with the green flag pit stops, we very well could see Mikey Neal having to catch up to lap traffic here before long.
Yeah, and, just kind of looking through the field here a little bit, checking out some different guys. Cody Levitt, as far as guys not named Mikey Neal right now, probably the fastest guy on the track. Him and Mikey are trading laps as far as fast laps, but Cody doing it in traffic right now. So Cody having a great run. He's run down Jameer Muhammad, trying to get by him. And after his early spin, trying to get back into contention here.
Yeah, so that's even what I was about to say is he's even running those laps with not only old tires, but probably worn out tires even more than the rest of these. While it's not much, flat spotting tires is a thing here in iRacing. So to spin out like that, that will put some more wear on those tires, at least in certain spots. Compared to these other people that haven't spun out. So if he's doing those kind of times with older tires and tires that he spun out on, I'd like to see what he can do with fresh tires.
Yeah. I mean, depending on how bad that spin was, I just caught a little bit of action on your replay as I was logging in. Probably just took a couple laps to cool those tires back down, and he was fine. So I would imagine, probably just fine. But, clean track, not running into traffic right now, anything like that. I think he's every bit as fast as Mikey Neal right now. So if we gave him a clean track, it'd be really interesting to see what he could do. But that is not the case, and he's got about 9 guys to go through before he can even get up there and start thinking about being as fast as Mikey Neal.
Yeah, he definitely does. And since we are on lap 15 now, we are going to, as we should switch over to Mikey Neal real fast. Not because he's got any major battles going on right now. There's probably a few more going on. But we are on lap 15, which means he should be coming into pit road as the 31 is going off track. Mikey Neal's going to have to fight his way around him, and he'll do so. And I would imagine, no, he's not coming in. So it was Mikey Neal himself that told us 14 to 15 laps, and that's what we were going off of. But he did not come down pit road this time. However, it looks like we are going to have Tony Rice come down.
Well, again, you can't compare the two. They've got similar fuel loads, though. In our Xfinity cars with a 60% fuel load, which is real close to what these guys have here, we were able to get 17 to 18 laps in a fuel run. But, when you've got 45, the obvious choice can be to split it, 15, 15, and 15. But, if you can go 17, 18 laps, then obviously you're never going to be able to do it in one stop. But look for an opportune time to pit. Don't force it. If you got guys spinning out, sliding around in front of you or whatever, just run another lap and try to pit the next time around.
And they are coming down now. Jason Covington has had to back up and go forward in his pit stall, and he's still having to back up and go forward in his pit stall. He is having major issues giving up second place right now. He cannot get in pit road as something is going on with him. He may be too close to the wall as he has had to back up 3, almost 4 times. Still on pit road, he is going to lose a ton of time right now.
Well, that's the other thing, right? Here, Canadian Tire, some of these road courses, you pit on the other side of your car, which, for a lot of guys, pitting is just second nature, right? You drive in and you know how close to get to the wall. Well, all of a sudden, when the wall's on the other side of your car, you screw up. we saw it in our races. We had a few guys in pitting on the other side. A lot of problems getting too close to the wall, and I think that's what we're looking at here with these guys having to back up, go forward, getting too close to pit wall. And, it's just not practicing pit stops enough when you're pitting on the other side of your car.
Yeah, it definitely is. And we got Jeremy Evans coming down, Mike Taylor coming down, Roger Muth coming down, and so far, Mikey Neal's still not coming down. So he's going to stretch this out. So obviously we can at least go 17 laps. And I know we got some questions from Mike Neal in chat. Says on the track, like there is nothing that the drivers cannot do. Like some cars can't go below the lines to pass in some races, anything like that. Really, the road courses are kind of their own beast as far as what you can and can't do as Mikey Neal comes down pit road. There really isn't any yellow lines you can't go below or anything like that here.
Well, there is cutting course penalties. They're automated penalties, and they're pretty severe. It used to be they weren't that much, but for instance, when you watch these guys going to the bus stops, you'll just see some cones directing them into that bus stop. If you can drive through those cones, if you didn't get braked fast enough or you think you're going to wreck with another car, absolutely drive through those cones, but you'll get like a 2.5 second penalty, which means you have to slow down and let it recoup about 2.5, 3 seconds at time. It's a pretty steep penalty, but you'll get that in some other places too if you cut a corner just a little bit too much or something like that. So you can do it, but you'll pay the price on that. And I think the big one here would be the bus stop, but there's probably a few other places on this track where if you drive on just a little bit too much grass or something like that, you can get a slowdown penalty.
Yeah, I forgot about those. Hey, you definitely can get those as Brian Bizzle's coming down. And Cody Levitt here, we were talking about him running fast laps. He is now out of the race, back in 19th place. He came down pit road for about 56 seconds, actually a little over, and is now out of the race.
Yeah, I just totally missed that. Something obviously happened. Maybe he had a little troubles getting on the pit road there or something. We're showing his last lap as being 16 seconds, so probably didn't make it too far and wrecked again and decided to call it a night.
Yeah, it's one of those things, and you'll see that a lot here in road courses. Is some people hang in there, but if you get multiple lap down when there's no cautions, that is a tendency here with these type of races, because you're 2-3 laps down. There's not much chance you're going to get those back unless you somehow just came around the entire field or the entire field wrecked or something like that. So getting your laps back is virtually impossible. It can be done, but it's very hard. So people tend to just not come back out with damaged cars just because they know their chances are slim to none.
Yeah, again, we've got no cautions, right? If you go down a lap, you're not going to get that lap back. Driving around with a Torp car is just absolutely no fun out there. So, a lot of guys opt to park it when they know about the best they can do is last place. There's just not a lot of point in going out and driving a car, especially if you're fast like Cody Levitt, man. It's easy to get frustrated with yourself knowing that you were a fast car out there and it just didn't work out for you.
Yeah, and that is of course why it's racing and it's not other sports. Can you compare racing to say like football or other sports like that? It is a strategic game, but it's not like remembering a playbook or something like that. Every race is different. You never know what's going to happen. There are no plans coming into a race. You can say, yeah, I plan to do this, but cautions come out. You spin. So many variables can happen that you just have to kind of go and wing it throughout the race. And like Cody Levitt, having one of the fastest times here and then spinning, there went the chance of possibly getting a win. So you just never know what's going to happen in a race coming into it. You plan for it, but you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, I can tell you I ran 2 of these last week. I finished one. I did not finish the other. So certainly know both sides of them. was able to come back and get a nice top 5 finish in the one, but the other one just kept shooting myself in the foot. And at some point, you just get so far behind, there's nothing left to gain, so you just pull it over and take it behind the wall.
Yeah, definitely. And to answer the question, how is Mikey Neal still in the lead after pit stops? One, he already had a 7-second lead. Now he's up to a 10-second lead. It just everybody came down and pitted, and that's how it worked itself out here. Jeff, you could probably explain a little bit more on the racing side as to how that happened, but he came in with a big lead and left with a bigger lead.
Well, we've cycled everybody through pit stops now, so everybody's had to pit stop. It's not just Mikey, but we had Jason Covington. He had some pretty big issues pitting. He was the guy that was in second place. He was the only guy within 10 seconds of Mikey Neal. And Alex Huffman, actually, before he went into those pit stops, was about 13 seconds behind. So in actuality, Alex Huffman was able to close up that gap by about 3 seconds on that sequence of pit stops, just by pitting a little bit earlier than Mikey. But the only guy that really had a chance to get up to Mikey Neal there was probably Jason Covington, who was about 5 seconds behind, and he had his own problems.
He did, and those problems amounted to a loss of 7 positions. I believe, if my math's correct, he went from second to 9th place. He started second, too, and so this is the furthest he's been down here in this race. We'll see when we have pit stops again, which will come up here in approximately 10 laps or so. And we'll see, I believe that should be our only other pit stop here, as they can go about, they can go 17 laps of fuel, so it should be a 2-stop race. Definitely look to see if Jason Covington can try to recover from that. You might see him pit a lap earlier than these guys. Maybe, if he can, possibly try to get some of that track position back.
Yeah, and I don't even know if that'll be enough. Jason Covington, I'm showing him as 1:24 down pit lane. And by comparison, you want to talk about the fastest guy down pit lane, that's our leader, Mikey Neal, with 38.8 seconds. So, just doing the math there's probably about a 45-second difference on pit lane there. So whatever problems Jason Covington had cost him about 45 seconds, and he's 48 seconds back now. So he would need a bunch of guys in front of him to have some pretty big mistakes if he was going to get back into a battle up there for the lead.
Yeah, and you take that huge amount of time on pit road, and you couple that with the fact that he was already about 8 seconds behind Mikey Neal to begin with, it's just a devastating blow. Had such a fast car, still has a fast car. That is the good news, that his issues here were on pit road, trying to get his pit stop to happen. It wasn't that he damaged the car, so that is a good thing about it.
Incorrect statement now, Charles. Unfortunately, while we were talking about Jason Covington, he got loose on the S's and put it into the wall. He had to tow back to the pits. So Jason Covington, I'm not sure if he's out of this race yet or not. I think he's still towing, but I think our curse got him. He went straight into the wall on those S-curves while we were talking about him.
Well, we said he had a fast car. I know he was in chat here, so hopefully, Jason, we didn't jinx you. I thought you had a good shot here to get Mikey, but unfortunately, doesn't look like it's going to happen. Regardless, he's there for at least 2 minutes. I think it's 2 minutes is the minimum tow time. And probably even more because of the road course.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that. I mean, towing from the S's has got to be a long tow. And, that one had to hurt.
Yeah, and he is in chat and said just wasn't his night tonight. I think, I might have to argue with that. I think he had a good shot for at least a podium finish here tonight. Just one of those things like we were talking about. You can't ever predict what's going to happen here. A good qualifying run was running good, and I think it's one of those things, too, that once you have a frustrating thing like happened on pit road, it kind of gets in your head, and then it seems like everything else just frustrates you, and it just builds from there.
Well, I don't know if it gets in your head. I don't know exactly what happened to Jason Covington, but for me, it's the same thing you have something like that, and it gets to you, and then you just start pressing. We talked about being able to go out there and click off those laps in your comfort zone and not having to press. Well, there's a lot of times you can run a little bit faster, and you get that car kind of on the verge out of control, just like in the S's there. It wants to be loose on you. You're coming close to clipping curbs a little bit too much or whatever, so yeah, when I make a mistake like that, especially on a road course like this, I tend to press too much, and oftentimes end up just like Jason Covington here. So without knowing what happened to him, I can only imagine that the initial mistake just probably compounded it, and had him out there working a little bit harder, and he got him.
He did indeed. And speaking of got him, we're watching the 99 and the 64. That's Justin Starr and Tony Rice. I thought Tony Rice in that 64 had him going down the front stretch here to the flag stand. He was right there beside him, but he didn't have enough speed to get by him going into the corner. So he only had one option, and that was to let off. Otherwise, he would have wrecked them both. So he let off and had to get behind Justin. And when you have to do that and let off a little bit, that kills some of your momentum, as now he's about 4 to 5 car lengths behind Justin.
Well, that's where we talked about early in the race when you're right behind somebody and trying to get by them, and you have to be late getting back to the gas because you can't run them over. If you get back to the gas sooner than them and you're still in the middle of the corner and you can't pull out, then you got to get back out of it, which kills you going down that straight, or you got to brake a little bit early, or just flat out wait too long to pick up the throttle. So, that's where the road coursers have an advantage. The road course guys, that have experience with that, but a lot of oval guys like myself and probably plenty of guys in this race really struggle to figure that out, and that's why it's such an advantage like Mikey to get out there right now and just traffic and turn laps on his own, because when you run up on faster cars, man, it's just hard to deal with that and not wreck.
Yeah, it definitely is. And while we're here, we have 20 to go this time. So what we want to point out here is pit stops. They will be coming up here in about 5 laps. For some people, we have Mikey 8 laps on this stint, Alex Huffman 10, Jeremy Evans and Mike Taylor, who we haven't talked about a whole lot here, in 4th place, 9 laps on a stint. The next 3 behind them, Brian Dorsey, Jim Walking, Jameer Muhammad 10, then 9, 10, 10, 8. So pit stops are pretty much all over the place here. We're going to see people come in here in about 5, 6, 7, maybe even 8 laps. So this could get very interesting here to see how it all shuffles out, as this will be the last pit stop. So you definitely have to be really good on this pit stop.
Yeah, we know we're about in the window, having watched Mikey run 17 laps on that stint. So, we've got a couple of guys. Well, I guess so, sir. There's not guys. I would expect maybe to see somebody pit early is next lap. That would be the earliest, I guess. But like you said, we should start seeing pits here pretty quick.
Yeah, we very well should. And looking up here, it looks like the 4 of Jeremy Evans. I thought that was a battle for position. Then I looked up, and it was the 4 and 64. So the 64. Oh, and there goes the 4.
Oh, Charles, you are like 2 for 2 right now. Oh, man. Yeah, he got around there real easy to do. Again, about the only we can adjust in these cars is brake bias, too. And so easy to come up these corners with just a little bit too much wheel and a little bit too much brake, or get into them the same way and spin a car around. Not sure if that's what got Jeremy Evans there, but I'm sure he's got some pretty angry and hot tires right now. He's going to have his hands full here for a couple laps. Might behoove him to come in and get some fresh tires early here, maybe a lap early. And as long as he can make it on gas, I'd sure consider it if I was him.
Yeah, I'm just not going to talk about drivers anymore, as apparently I'm jinxing them here tonight. I talk about them, and then they end up wrecking, so we're going to refrain from that. But he's working his way back. We'll see if he can get back up there as we are going through the list here, trying to see who's going to be some of the first drivers to come down pit road. I have a feeling somebody's going to short pit here, maybe on lap 14. We didn't see anybody till lap 15 at least on the last stint here. I think we're going to see somebody short pit it here on lap 14. The question is, who will it be and how far back in the field will they be?
Well, if I was Jeremy Evans there with those hot melted tires, or somebody else, I'm sure plenty of guys that have slid it around here a couple times in the last few laps as these tires got older. That would sure convince me to be one of the first guys to pits and get those fresh tires. Other than that, you know, if I'm out there running good and I got a nice cushion and I'm where I want to be, I'm just kind of looking for a window that makes sense. Probably would run it a little bit longer if I'm comfortable with how the car's handling, and I may hold off to wait, to get those fresh tires.
Yeah, definitely. I'm with you. I may hold off just a little bit. We'll see. So far, whoop, there, Justin Starr going to be the first one in the 99 machine to come down. I'm not sure. He was about 13 laps, I think, for him. So he will be our first taker coming down pit road. This is his last pit stop of the night, as it looks like he is going to get it in nice and clean.
Yeah, I see. I got a question there in chat from Mike Neal again. Wants to know if I'm a better driver with a car putting pressure on me, or would I rather be out there in front alone? At a road course, absolutely, I want to be out front alone. Road course like this, I need to turn practice laps because I'm just not that good in traffic. I haven't run enough road races, so lack of experience there. At an oval, Mike, I'm probably better when I'm the one doing the chasing as opposed to getting chased. Sometimes I let guys get in my head a little bit when they're all over my back bumper, and getting way out front by yourself, maybe you tend to lose a little bit of focus once in a while too. So I'd say I'm best when I'm doing the chasing.
And speaking of being out by yourself, taking a look here to the front of Mikey Neal's car, he's got quite a bit of damage to the front. I don't know when he acquired that. As he has been out front, so obviously that damage was received when trying to get by a lap car. He still has a 21-second lead, almost 22, over Alex Huffman. So clearly he did not spin it out or anything. I think he looks like from the damage we see caved in. I believe he got into the back of a lap car possibly.
That would be my guess. I'm looking at his lap times right now. I don't see anything that screams I had a spin out or anything. It doesn't look like he had any laps that were particularly slow. I'm going to guess he got into the back of somebody as well. Again, that's what we talked about. His troubles were going to probably be getting into traffic here around these other cars and trying to manage that braking points, things like that. May have bit him here already.
Yeah, the good news is he's still got a fast repair. He has plenty of space between him and second place. However, I will put he was at 21.8 seconds. He's actually at 20.950. So Alex Huffman is actually catching him now, as Alex Huffman is running minute 14s and Mikey Neal's running minute 15s. However, I don't think that has anything to do with that damage. I think Mikey Neal is just trying to conserve a little bit here so that he can stay out extra laps.
Well, I saw Mikey Neal got caught up a little bit there in traffic too with Justin Starr, so that's probably part of the reason for some of these slower laps.
Is that very well could be as Brian Dorsey coming down pit road. He will complete his stop, so one more driver coming down. And for some reason, it's only showing him with one pit stop. There goes two pit stops now, and we have Bill Edwards and Sam Crow coming down as well.
Yeah, I'm going back trying to see if I can figure out what happened to Mikey Neal's car since we missed something potentially that could impact the leader of this race here. Looking like it happened somewhere back around lap 20 or 21 there. So early in this second stint, and I'll just see if I can find it here real quick. But I'm guessing lap 20 is where it happened.
And to answer the question, as we're watching Tyler Rowland come down, if they do not have a fast repair, which they do, it would cost them time on pit road. They would have to stay and repair it. There are two types of repairs, mandatory repairs and optional repairs. The mandatory, obviously, you have to fix. But these guys do have a fast repair, so they can get in as long as it's checked and get that fast repair taken care of and get that damage quick, and it'll take roughly probably 0.2 seconds, 0.1 second. So it's not going to add to their actual time on pit road.
So these guys do have a fast repair available in this league. They didn't have it in the Xfinity League when they ran it, so...
Oh, well, that stands. Maybe they don't then. I was thinking they did, but you are correct. They didn't in that one. So in that case, they probably don't. I was... got my series mixed up. They probably do not have a fast repair then.
I can confirm they do not have a fast repair. So when we saw Jason Covington saying he had 15 minutes of damage, I assumed that there was no fast repair available there. But I haven't been here this season too much, so wasn't sure.
And I didn't even look into that, to be honest. I assumed they had one, but that was wrong. Obviously, I'd forgot they didn't have one in the other series, so obviously they probably wouldn't in this one. And Alex Huffman coming down pit road here. He will complete his pit stop as he is getting fresh tires here. 14.8 seconds. He is off pit road. So the only drivers that have not pitted so far are Dan Butler, Scotty Zerk, Brian Bizzle, back in 11th, 12th, and 13th. Mike Taylor and Mikey Neal have not come down pit road. Everybody else has completed their second and final pit stop here in tonight's race.
Yeah, and, if you're Mikey Neal and those tires are good, probably no hurry. I never did figure out where he got that damage. I thought maybe he got into Justin Starr there, back there on about lap 21 or 22, but that's not the case. So we'll have to ask him after the race if he's able to finish in a podium spot.
Yeah, definitely have to. And there goes Mike Taylor on to pit road. He will complete his stop. So now only 4 drivers have not done their second stop here. And while he's on pit road and Mikey Neal out front, there's not a whole lot going on the track here. We want to quickly take a moment we haven't got to all night to thank everybody for tuning in here tonight to VRN. Definitely, if you're new, hit the thumbs up and subscribe button. Make sure to hit the bell to be notified of all upcoming events. And again, thanks for tuning in here tonight. Definitely a great race so far. Obviously caution free as Mikey Neal is coming down pit road. He currently has a 56-second gap over second place Alex Huffman. We'll see how much of that gap does go away here as he comes down pit road.
Yeah, and while you were doing that, I was able to figure out what happened. There was an incident there where Tony Rice was having some troubles getting the bus stop, locked up his brakes, and Mikey Neal clipped him getting into the bus stop there. So all I saw was some brakes locked up, and the two of them made contact there. So didn't look like anything too serious. Didn't look like it really slowed either one of them up too much. But that's how Mikey Neal ended up with that damage.
Well, definitely. And he did repair a little bit of that, as you can see there while he was on pit road. Not quite as damaged as it was. Looked like they bent the fenders back out at least. And like you said, wasn't too bad of damage to begin with. Luckily, it didn't get into the engine or the radiator or anything like that. So obviously, he's not going to overheat. So he now has a 19-second gap. So from 56 seconds to 19 seconds. So they lost about 30 seconds of that gap to Alex Huffman.
Well, that's not too bad. I would have expected it to be a little bit more than that, but still, 20-second lead. Mikey Neal here at this point, he's got 10 laps, and he can give up almost 2 seconds a lap and still win this thing. So Mikey Neal just needs to stay out of trouble and cruise around. Probably doesn't even need to really try to pass anybody. If he runs into lap traffic, he needs to be real choosy, careful when and how he passes somebody. He just needs to log those laps and keep that car clean.
Yeah, he definitely does. And someone we haven't talked about here who has a little bit of damage to his car as well, that is the 2 of Jameer Muhammad. Again, we talked about him earlier. He has worked his way up from that EOL from 18th place all the way up to 4th. So he is getting 14 spots here in tonight's race, and he is running down the 56 of Mike Taylor. Currently, quite a bit of gap separating them two here. Questionable if he'll catch him here with 10 laps to go, but still an outstanding run for Jamir Muhammad to gain that many spots here in the race.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I can only speak from my experience, but coming through the field, at these road courses, man, that's difficult. I think qualifying up front and getting out front is huge, and Jamir Muhammad basically having to come through the entire field and pass all those cars. So what a fantastic job by him. That's so hard to do.
Yeah, definitely to go from basically the rear of the field to a top 5 finish just shows how good he is. Would be even better if he could possibly get a podium out of it. But again, this is about the long haul. You want the points championship, so you definitely want to get as good a finish as you can overall. Not necessarily the win, but consistency will win a championship.
Well, yeah. Definitely, you hate to throw aces away. We got drops in a lot of these leagues. I'm sure these guys have drops. They have drops in their other series, so you do get to designate a couple of throwaways, but bad races happen, and you certainly don't want to go into a race thinking it's a throwaway. You'd like to just, even if you're not a road course guy, you'd love nothing more than end up with a top 5, top 10 finish at a road course like this.
Definitely. And I believe we got a question for you in the chat. Mike Neal is wondering if it is snowing out there.
Mike Neal, I don't know what happened to fall here, but we got winter. I got snow on the ground, and it's way too early for snow on the ground here, man. So not real happy about it, but I will take that over the weather that you guys got down there this weekend at the end of last week too. So a little bit of snow, but certainly better than what you guys have had to put up with.
Yeah, definitely. Weather has been crazy. It's been rainy and dreary here for the last little bit. But obviously not raining here, as we don't have that type of weather here in iRacing, so we never have to miss a race. That is always the fun part about iRacing, is weather cannot affect this race. And now we have 18.9 seconds separating Mikey Neal and Alex Huffman, and I say that because it has actually gone down. Now it's gone up a little bit again, but at certain points in this race, Alex Huffman is actually running down his teammate Mikey Neal. So, again, 8 laps to go. I don't think he has enough time to get up there unless Mikey was suspended or something, or get loose. I don't think he's going to catch him, but he has definitely closed the gap, and now it's actually going back up again. So, Mikey may have been conserving again.
I think Mikey just did the math that we did a little bit earlier and came to the same conclusion. The only thing that's going to make him lose this race right now is if he spins out or runs off the track, makes contact with another car. So I think he's being really careful and choosy about who and where he passes. A little bit slower in the corners, a little bit later on the throttle. Let Alex Huffman eat into that lead. You don't care. With 8 laps left, he's not going to eat up 20 seconds unless you make a big mistake. So Mikey's only goal right now is to not make any big mistakes.
Yeah, and, as he almost scrapes the wall there, gets a little net thing. Again, even for a skilled driver like Mikey Neal, that is not necessarily a solid, I won't make any mistakes. Anything could happen here. Especially when you start putting lap cars in there. I don't think he has any in the near future here, as we'll go on board with him real fast so we can get the onboard up. There it is. We'll get the onboard camera here going, and you see right there, nothing.
Oh, Alex Huffman around in the bus stop. Craig Covington got into the grass. I think he was trying to let Alex Huffman by. Bounced off the guardrail, back up in front of Alex Huffman. Alex Huffman had to hit the brakes, and they just locked up on him, and around he went. So Alex Huffman losing second place to Mike Taylor in that whole event. Really unfortunate there.
Yeah, it definitely is very unfortunate, as that will put him back to third place now. So he's still in the podium finishes. We'll go back to our main camera here. But what I do now want to point out is you go back, there's Jamir Muhammad, 32 seconds off the lead. There's only 1.4 second gap between third and fourth. So right now, because of that spin from Alex Huffman, Jamir Muhammad has a very good shot at possibly getting a podium finish here tonight.
Yeah, Brian Bizzle and Tony Rice just got into a little event there on the track too, watching that. I just caught the tail end of it as my camera angle switched on me there, but looked like Brian Bizzle gave him a couple shots to the bumper there, and Tony Rice actually spun around and then towed from there. So not sure if anything precipitated that, but it didn't look too friendly.
Yeah, typically, so there goes Brian Bizzle to pit road. If you bump somebody, it could be a warning. Hey, I'm faster than you. Please let me by. You hit them twice, it means I'm faster than you. Get out of my way. You hit them multiple times, it's get out of my way. I'm going to spin you usually. So repetitive hits like that, definitely. It's not saying it was for sure get out of my way. I'm going to wreck you. But it definitely, multiple hits like that typically is, like you said, not a gesture of love.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't see anything that led up to it or anything like that. Just caught the tail end of it, but that little snippet of time that I saw certainly didn't look like a congratulatory bumper 3.
Yeah, definitely not a congratulation one. We'll see here is we're going to hang around here for just a minute. As I talked about it, Jamir Muhammad now 0.683 seconds behind Alex Huffman. So that little spin, while looks like he didn't get any damage, and Jamir Muhammad car looks like he has quite a bit of damage. You said it earlier, aerodynamics aren't really a big issue. So that isn't going to play a factor here. But I really think Jamir has a good shot of possibly getting a podium finish. 0.9 seconds behind. He has 4 laps to do it. So the question is, will he be able to get by Alex Huffman and get a podium finish from starting at the rear of this field?
Yeah, and I got to go back and having reviewed the Brian Bizzle incident here because I hate innuendo like that. Looked like there was some net code down at the bus stop that took Tony Rice around, and with that net code coming into play, I don't want to lead anybody to believe that they were I think net code came into it, and certainly can't say that was anything intentional there. They did make contact about 3 times, so I can't tell you that it wasn't, but it certainly didn't look as intentional as it did when I just caught that first snippet there. So I just wanted to clear that up real quick, Charles.
Yeah, and that's one of those things. Speaking of the angle you saw, here we do have that question. How is it determined on what part of the track you guys can see? We do have a set cameras all over the track. We can adjust those cameras, so we are using a custom one here for this track. However, obviously, since I'm the one streaming, I have to stay on a certain one. But you do not have to. Jeff has a lot wider variety of cameras, and he can zoom in and out and see all over this track a little bit better than I can. So usually I go off of what he says, and that's who we go to. But again, we just have set cameras that are all over the track that we can kind of move around and place where we want. And that pretty much is what we see.
Yeah, so sometimes I have no idea what Charles is looking at when he's talking to you, and I'm clueless, and other times I get the advantage of be able to go back and look at replays while they're still running and flip through the camera angles and all that. So if anybody didn't know how it works, that's how it works. I'm the clueless one.
Well, some of the time. And the other question says, are you calling the bus stop the turns at the cone?
Yes, we are calling the bus stop that turns at the cone, where you dive in and you take that hard right, and then you pull back out with a left and then a right before the big turn, which we then call the carousel. We used to have a nice map of Watkins Glen where we had all of our nicknames on it, and we may have to dig that up the next time we do one of these Watkins Glen races.
Yeah, definitely we'll have to dig that back up, as we'll see when the next one comes up, and we'll probably have to look into a new one. as well as, of course, coming up here in a few weeks. I was just getting all the stuff set on YouTube here for the Xfinity series, and we do have, I believe, Sonoma coming up shortly. So, well, not real shortly, but soon anyway. So we'll have to get one for Sonoma as well.
Yeah, too soon. For my series, anyways, I'm not sure about everybody else. We tend to follow kind of the iRacing schedule like most. That's why we just got done running our Watkins Glen, and we're seeing everybody else run it this week. So I know we've got Sonoma coming up, but I'm not familiar with these guys' schedule.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not sure if they even run it, but I know we have it coming up for your series. And yes, the more screens you have, you can definitely see more. As there is the one to go here for Mikey Neal, who's about ready to put Justin Starr a second lap down. I think he'll probably just let him go. He won't probably try to pass him too much. There's really no point into it. But yeah, most people on here minimum run 3 monitors, whether they're racing or broadcasting.
Yeah, for racing, unless you've got VR, the 3 monitors kind of gives you a little bit of immersion. Lets you use your peripheral vision a little bit. See, just like if you were normally driving, you can use that peripheral vision a little bit and kind of subconsciously pay attention to things. Broadcasting-wise, we got the race on one screen. I got, YouTube chat on another screen. I got camera controls and timing screens on another screen. So, yeah, the 3 screens makes life a lot easier, but then sometimes I'm also a little bit technically challenged, and the 3 screens causes me a few issues, as we saw earlier this season with some of the races that I was struggling to broadcast.
Oh, definitely it can be, but speaking of not struggling, that is the 8 of Mikey Neals. He's wiggling it back and forth. He will be your race winner here tonight. As I assume that was his celebration here, as you can't do a lot, but never mind. He is going to do some donuts here on the side of the track. Not the first time. I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken, Martin Truex Jr. that did that this season. Started doing donuts right after the start-finish line.
Yeah, second, third place crossing the finish line right now. Mike Taylor brings it home second, and Alex Huffman hangs on after that battle with Jameer Muhammad to bring it home in third place. So those are your podium finishers here tonight.
He does indeed, and they do indeed. Mikey Neal going to be doing some celebrating here. While he does that, we will go ahead and go through your unofficial race results. We got 24 drivers here. So, Jeff, you want to run through our top 10 here tonight, and then I will bring us home.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think we still got to wait for a few guys to cross that finish line yet, Charles, before we can run through them too much here. I think we got about 7 or 8 guys still out there on track need to complete this lap.
Well, we'll definitely give them time to do that. Meanwhile, we'll go to our winner here, as I'm trying not to laugh. He is actually going backwards on the track. And I don't mean going doing a parade lap backwards. I mean going the right direction, but backwards on the track.
All right. I think we got everybody finished now, so I'll go ahead and roll through the top 10 there for you.
All right.
Our winner tonight, in first place, the number 8 of Mikey Justified Neal. Bringing it home in second, the 56 car of Mike A. Taylor. In third place, another teammate of Mikey Neal's, the 83 of Alex Huffman. In fourth place, the number 2 of Jameer Muhammad, started in the back, drove it to the front. In fifth place, the number 4 car of Jeremy Evans. In sixth place, the 91 of Jim Locking. Bringing it home in seventh, the 9 car of Brian Dorsey. The 39 of Roger Muth finishes in eighth. The 70 of Sam Crow finishes in 9th, and rounding out your top 10 is the 75 of Bill Edwards.
In 11th place is going to be the 99 of Justin Starr. 12th is going to be the 31 of Scotty Zerk. 13th will be the 21 of Dan Butler. 14th will be the 96 of Craig Covington. And 15th will go to Tyler Rollin. 16th will go to Tony Rice. 17th, Charles Hoffman. 18th, the 28 of Brian Bizzle. 19th, the 10 of Jason Covington, who had a great run here, just didn't get the finish he wanted. 20th will go to the 38 of Cody Levitt, who we talked about had one of the fastest laps, also just didn't have the finish he wanted. 21st will go to the 45 of Brian Jones. 22nd will go to the 30 of Mike Rigney. And 23rd and 24th, Sal Casey and Chris Brown, who did not start the race here tonight. That being said, we are going to step away here for just a minute, get a quick little add in here for an upcoming series, and we will be right back as we'll talk to our top 3 drivers here in just a few moments. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen, here with your post-race show, as we are going to put your official or unofficial results up on the ticker for you there to scroll through. We have your top 3 finishers here in the booth with us. Again, finishing in 3rd place here tonight. That is the 83 of Alex Huffman, and Jeff, I believe, has caught up with him, so we'll hand the mic over to Jeff.
Hey, Alex Huffman, man, you got me?
Yeah, I got you.
Hey, congratulations. Man, I haven't called a race with you guys for a little bit here. I think this is only my 2nd one in the Nationals, but when I think of road racers in this league, typically you're not one of them I think of. You're more of an oval guy, but man, you've changed that. I think you ran in the top 4 all night long, top 3. I know you were in 3rd place behind Jason Covington there for a while. He had some issues. You were in 2nd place. Actually closed up on Mikey after that first set of pit stops. And then had a little bit of an issue there later in the bus stop there with another car, and lost 2nd place there right towards the end of the race. And then you had to battle Jameer Mohammed and hold him off, and we've seen Jameer run really good here in his road course lately. So all that, you end up bringing it home in 3rd place. We got a couple TD8s on the podium here. So why don't you tell us about your night, man?
Well, I got to thank Mikey, first of all, because he helped me at these road courses, because I suck at them, like you said. The car was really loose. Like I typed in chat earlier, it drives about as straight as a wet noodle around here, and that's for real sure. And yeah, I hate that I lost 2nd place there. I wasn't giving giving it him easy. If I had a couple more laps, I probably would have been at his bumper. But man, it was a hard fought night. I'm glad I walked away with a 3rd place, because I felt like I was going to end up about 10th or 11th after this race was over.
Well, I don't think I exactly said you suck at road courses, but I can tell you what, man, you've gotten a lot better. I can tell you put in a lot of work to it tonight. So you ran up there with your teammate most of the night, or at least close to him. What kind of strategy you have coming into the race tonight, or was there one? Was it just survive, or did you actually have kind of a strategy here for tonight?
My strategy was probably just survive and try not to spin out like I ended up doing, trying to avoid another car. But, I mean, as long as I survived and I walk away with a 3rd place, at least on the podium, I'm happy. And just hope that I didn't get in somebody's way if I was slower. So I'll take it.
All right, that sounds like mine. I know a lot of guys are Some guys strategize for this, and with me, I'm right there with you, man. It's just keep the car in one piece and survive. So congratulations, you did a fantastic job of that tonight. You were fast all night long, and I'm sure you got some shout-outs, some people to thank, some sponsor love to give. So have at it, man.
Yeah, I gotta thank Iracing Drivers World for sponsoring this series. Gold Building Contractors for the series coming up Tuesday night, ready for Daytona and those Xfinity cars. I gotta thank Mikey and all the guys at KAM. They always help me out whenever I need it, and especially Mikey. You guys for broadcasting, you, Charles, and just Racecore as a general.
All right. Thanks, Alex Huffman. Once again, congratulations. Fantastic race. And we're going to send it back down to Charles here, who I think's got our second-place finisher.
I do indeed have our second-place finisher, and that is the 56 of Mike. What a run here. Again, you started in ninth and worked your way up to second place here. So a good run overall to get yourself into a podium finish. Coming into this race, what were your thoughts on this track? Did you like it? One of your favorites, least favorite? And leaving this track, has that changed at all?
Well, all I gotta say is I'm very impressed with myself actually being able to get up here to second. This is actually my debut race here in Racecore, and yeah, I'm just so flabbergasted. I don't even know how to say this. The racing was absolutely phenomenal. All these guys, they knew how to run, and when they saw us coming, they let us by without any problems. And oh man, Alex, when I saw him spin going through the bus stop over there on the backstretch, man, I knew at that point I had it. And then he started closing in on me with like 4-3 to go, and he kept inching his way. I'm like, oh man, I cannot mess up. Then on the final lap, I saw him overshoot turn one, and I know at that point I knew I have second if I keep my nose clean.
Oh, definitely a great way to come in here to the series. Your first race ever here with Racecore, and you finish in second place. So looking forward to next week, if I'm going to have to take a look here myself. I'm not sure what track it is, but we are definitely going to find out real quick, as we will switch over to upcoming here and see what we have going on. But overall, other than next week itself, is actually next week is going to be New Hampshire for 90 laps. So give us your thoughts on that, and obviously after this, are you ready to get to next season as well already, where you can race those Xfinity cars and trucks?
Oh, absolutely. I'm definitely excited to find Racecore, and I'm definitely going to be looking forward to running at, I think you said New Hampshire, and then starting on Tuesday, we're going to be hitting up Daytona, which I love that place. So I definitely, I'm glad I found this place, and let's rock it from here.
Well, definitely we will look forward to seeing a lot of you here, as a second place finish in your first race is definitely something to be proud of. So that being said here, any sponsors you need to shout out, or anyone you just want to give a shout out to out there that could be watching for you?
Oh, absolutely. I definitely want to give a shout out to Global Building Contractors and Butler Designs for sponsoring up this league. And then over on Tuesday, along with the Iracing Drivers World. And then my normal team sponsors over at Beast Racing, I want to definitely give a shout out to Destinations, Prestige Worldwide, Race Spot, and everybody at Beast Racing for keeping my confidence up and giving me the power to do what we do here.
All right, well, congrats on second place and first place. That is the 8 of Mikey Neal, and I believe Jeff has got up with him.
Hey, Mikey Neal, you got a copy, man?
Jeff Stabnow, do you have a copy?
Oh, I got a copy here, loud and clear, buddy. Congratulations on that victory, man. You were the fastest guy in practice. You took the pole. You jumped out to a lead. I don't think you ever lost it. You pretty much you got to go out there and log those laps, not traffic, and you just kind of drove away. Jason Covington was maybe the only guy that even looked like he was going to present much of a challenge there early on. He had some issues. After he checked out, you pretty much checked out. So congratulations on the victory, man. Why don't you tell us about your race here a little bit tonight?
Yeah, just straightforward. I mean, definitely got a lot of practice in, and I came in here and I knew I at least had a shot. I knew I really liked this track, so I knew I was going to have a really good chance. And right when I heard Jameer starting the back, Jameer, I know he's good at all those other racetracks, but he's also really good, and he's not like top at road courses, but he's definitely good. He won Canadian Tire Park, so I knew how to watch out for him. And it was a little bit different. It was a little bit harder for him because he had to start in the back, so I knew I kind of had a little bit of help there. But yeah, definitely. I mean, Jason was super fast. I mean, Mike, Alex, Jeremy, they were all really, really fast as well. And the thing that I went out and I pretty much the first time I went out and did 15 hot laps right away. No letting off or anything. I was just trying my hardest to get away from them. And then the last 2 runs I had, I kind of stopped a little bit, made sure I'd get through everything. But other than that, I think I only had 2 incidents during the race. Definitely one place that I think hurt a lot of people, and that was the bus stop. I wheel hopped in it, and the only thing I could really do was shift it down to neutral. So I put it in neutral and luckily saved the car and didn't spin. And then also I think I got into the lap car a little bit earlier as well. But other than that, the race was very, very smooth, and I kept it on the track the whole time. So I really had a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the only thing I saw is you and the 64 car had a little bit of an incident there getting into pit road, or into the bus stop, I mean. But other than that, it was a fantastic race. I know I'm not much of a road course guy, and so when I run these races, it's really important for me to get out of traffic as fast as I can. If I'm going to have a good race and turn fast laps, I need to get away from the mess. That's exactly what you did tonight. How important was that, or how big of a part of your strategy was that tonight to just get out front and get as far away from the traffic as you absolutely could and turn those laps just like in practice?
Well, I knew it was going to be pretty hard to get around lap traffic, so I wasn't 100% I wasn't focused on it really. I just knew that if I kept running my line, I would eventually get past them because this is a very big track, so I knew I wouldn't be really lapping everybody frequently, and I knew maybe 1 or 2 laps I'd lap them. So overall, there wasn't a lot of traffic, I would say, but I definitely needed to get out front. I felt like that was just a big part of it, is that if I could at least get around a 3-second lead by the time I pit, I'd be really good. And the only thing that I really needed to do was just get in my pit box fine. And one thing I also learned from Canadian Tire Park is that I need to be a little bit further left. And so I definitely used that today, and definitely helped me in these pit stops because those were very crucial. I know Jason, he had a heck of a race on that first run, and then I think he messed up in the pits. So, you got to give a shout out for him. He had a really, really fast car, and I kind of feel bad for him. But definitely everybody else who was in that top 5, I knew they were all fast. Pretty much everybody was fast, to be honest. I mean, the gap between everybody was only 2 seconds, and that's probably the best I've ever had in a league race at a road course.
Yeah, one last final question for you. Probably the most impressive thing I saw all night. And I'm going to back up here just a little bit. There used to be a guy named Alan Kowicki who coined the Polish victory lap. So in other words, he would go around the track backwards, but not in reverse. He would take the lap like at an oval clockwise as opposed to counterclockwise. But I watched you take an entire victory lap in reverse here tonight at a road course. So obviously the Polish victory lap's already been coined. So first of all, what inspired that victory lap? Second of all, did you practice it? And third, what are we calling it?
Oh, there ain't no practicing for that. I mean, that's just me getting excited, man. When I get excited, I start driving backwards, no doubt. And so, that's what I call it. You ask everybody else. I call it the Mikey victory lap. I do it every single time I win. And, it wasn't anything that I ever thought about. It accidentally happened. I think it was actually Alex. I forget which track it was. And he spun me out. So I was just going backwards, and I kept going backwards after I won. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to use this. And, I've been doing it ever since. And so, just a little fun to add at the end of it.
Well, impressive nonetheless. Hard enough to do this one forward. Watching you do this one in reverse, pretty disgusting if you can't do it going forward, which is me. So yes, definitely impressive. I'm sure you got some shout outs. So we got to wrap this up. Some sponsor love to give. And I know you got some fans out there in chat. So have at it, Mikey.
Yeah, I got to thank KM, Pinnacle. I got to thank those guys helped me out so much. Especially in this league, we have Alex, Roger. They definitely help me out so much. Got to thank you guys for broadcasting. We definitely love having you guys every week. Got to thank Iracing Drivers World and Global Building Contractors, which the new series starts Tuesday, so that'll be really fun. Cannot wait at Daytona. Got to thank Dan Butler Designs too. He definitely has worked hard on those designs, and you got to thank him. Also, so him and Justin, definitely the owners of this. You got to thank them. They set everything up. Got to thank my mom and dad. I know they're both watching. And just because he's a rookie, I got to give a shout out to Mike Taylor. He did an awesome job tonight. I know he brought it home P2, so got to give him a shout out as well.
All right, thanks, Mikey. Congratulations once again on the win at Watkins Glen and the Mikey victory lap that followed. And with all of that said, we will send it back to Charles to wrap this thing up.
All right. Well, we are going to wrap it up here. Of course, we want to thank all the sponsors that came on board here for this race. Of course, general sponsors here for tonight are Global Building Contractors, Leo's Coney Island out of Rochester Hills. Coming on newly on board, that is Dan Butler Designs. And, of course, the presenting sponsor here for tonight's race, that is Iracing Drivers World. On the broadcast side of things, we have several partners that have come on board here for 2018, and they are as follows: Wool's Beard Co., Sim Speed Shop, Northwest Racing Series, Ohio IndyCar League, iBog, and Randy's Wraps. And speaking of wrapping it, that will wrap it up here for tonight's race. We hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you tomorrow night as we come back with the Northwest Xfinity Series. Should be another great race coming up. I believe it is Martinsville. So get ready for some beating and banging and some really good racing tomorrow night at 10:30 p.m. Central Time and 8:30 p.m. Pacific Time. We'll see you then.
This copyrighted broadcast may not be used in any form without the authorized written consent of Virtual Racing Network. VRN would like to thank all of our fans for your support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.